Hello there guys and girls from YouTube, and welcome to the very first episode of this devlog for the Nameless Ghibli project. I'm Mambo Master Kong. I'm a game designer and a solo developer on this project, and today I want to invite you to join me in this game creation journey as we design and discover together what this game is going to look like. As a bit of a background, I was first introduced to game design and game development around 6 years ago when I grabbed a copy of Unity, followed some tutorials online and created a prototype called The Hidden Footsteps within a month. The result was bad. The game was not fun, had loads of glitches, it looked ugly, and to be honest, it just simply sucked. But on the positive side, I also learned some valuable lessons in a short time, and most importantly, I discovered and completely fell in love with the process of making games. Creating these cool interactions between player and game out of nothing and watching the whole thing slowly take form is something that makes me feel deeply satisfied. So, since then, I've been steadily creating and designing more games, getting better at it with each title, and some of them I have even considered good enough to publish. You can get them now for free at itch.io. The links to them will be in the description. And hey, while you're hanging down there, why not give this video a like and maybe even subscribe to the channel? I'll be making more content and you'll be able to follow along and contribute as I design this game. Let's not dwell in the past though, because we're here to gaze into the future with this new project. And you, the cool people from YouTube, will be front and center. In this devlog, I will not only walk you through the creative process behind the making of this still nameless Ghibli project, but you'll also be able to ask me all your questions, tell me what you want to learn more about, and share ideas, suggestions, and criticisms. On my side, I'll try to be as open as possible about the whole project and creative process. I really hope that we can have a conversation and go on this journey together. Okay, so quickly touching on the tools I'll be using, the game engine will be Unity. Why? Because that's what I know how to use and I don't want to learn another one right now. Because this is a 3D project, I'll be also working with Blender to create the 3D models. Additionally, I'll use Affinity Designer and maybe even Paint.net to make some simple textures here and there, but nothing fancier than that. That being said, I'm not a Unity expert and I'm not a digital artist, and my 3D modeling skills are best described as meh. So everything you see me making during this devlog is not necessarily the best way to do it, and there will most definitely be things that can be improved upon. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that I'm just a regular dude, trying to translate the art style of the Studio Ghibli films into a 3D video game. The movies of Studio Ghibli have a certain magic to them that is hard for me to put into words. Hayao Miyazaki immerses viewers into landscapes and worlds that are completely impossible in real life. Yet, when you look at them, they feel amazingly natural and real. As if there was nothing surprising about a castle walking along a cloudy meadow, or another one just flying through the skies. As if it was obvious that a character could age decades in just a second. The fluidity of the movements on the screen and the masterful animations just make everything feel so effortless. That is what makes these characters so relatable and the worlds they inhabit so easy to buy into, and why it almost feels like you could close your eyes for a while and then be greeted by the magical worlds of these movies once you open them again. In short, we are talking about amazing masterpieces. That being the case, I'm obviously not the first one to gush online about these films. And I'm also not the first one who has tried to translate their art style into video games. Games such as Ni no Kuni, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and the upcoming titles Baldo and Hoa are valuable references. During this project, we'll be looking at them closely and we'll try to understand where they succeed and what their shortcomings are. And hopefully, will learn the lessons that'll help me in creating something unique. Usually, when designing a game, or pretty much anything else, one of the first things I start with is asking why. In the case of games, there's already millions of them out there to play. There's video games, but also card games, tabletop games, board games, and even sport games that are popping up left and right. So why would I want to release another one, and why should anyone care? A similar way to look at this is to ask, what is it about this game that is gonna make it worth anybody's time? These are questions that I write down in my game design document, and the answers change as I progress on the game. Later, I move on to decide what I want the players to feel and experience whilst playing the game. As an example, for Together Alone, a 4-player co-op game, we wanted to create an experience that would bring 4 people together as a team, maybe even 4 strangers, and help them communicate and coordinate in a fast-paced manner. The players who could clear the levels should be the ones that communicated seamlessly through the game's mechanics without even having to talk much. From that core concept, the main pillars of the game are defined. Then, we choose a genre, design mechanics, and a core gameplay loop, and so on. For this project though, not so much. I'm throwing all of that out the window, at least for now, and I'm just having fun making a scene in Unity and trying to make it look nice. I have only a very few vague ideas for gameplay, but I'll design and develop those in the future. For now, this devlog will be focused on environments of the small world that I'm creating. Enough rambling now. Let's finally take a look at what I've made so far. What you see here corresponds to about 2 months of work. As I mentioned before, I'm not an artist and I have little experience in 3D modeling, so I'm actually very satisfied with this progress. Sure, there's still a lot missing, and there are things to improve, like this tree trunk over here. But in general, I feel that it's a solid start. And now we're gonna get into the details. One of the most essential components to create the Ghibli look is to have an appropriate toon shader. The main difference between a toon shader and a standard shader is how shadows are separated from lit areas. Here we have 2 spheres. The one on the left uses Unity's standard shader, and the one on the right uses a custom toon shader I created. While the standard shader smoothly transitions from shadow to light, the toon shader on the other side has this hard break between light and shadow. This is called color ramping, or shadow ramping, and with this super simple texture we can control its behavior. In the lower part, there's a dark gray rectangle covering half of the area, while the other half is white. That is why 50% of the sphere is lit and the other 50% is in the shade. The upper half of the texture controls a specular reflection, which is that very bright spot that appears when light hits a shiny object. Right now, I have no specular reflection, because the upper half is completely dark. But if you use a texture like this one, you will see it appearing in the lit half of the sphere. Also, different levels of shade can be drawn by resizing each segment of the texture. As you can see, the results can be vastly different. All in all, this is quite a powerful little texture. Another property which is very common in toon shaders are the outlines. By checking this box over here, an outline appears around the sphere's border, giving our models a comic-like or anime-like look. The width of the outline can also be controlled here. This is something that I see many people go overboard with. In my opinion, a more subtle and thinner outline is often the best way to go. Okay, now let's take a look at a proper character model. Again, to the left there is a standard Unity shader, and to the right is the model with a toon shader. Taking a look at the transitions from light to dark, we can see that the difference is actually huge, and the specular reflection is also very different. In the future, we will see how each of the objects in the scene takes advantage of this toon shader. That's gonna be all for today. In the next episodes of the Nameless Ghibli project, we will be looking into how I created the grass, the rocks, the tree, and the river in this scene. So stay tuned for them, and thanks a lot for watching. See you next time!